I want to tell you a story about a time in my life when literally everything in my life changed. This is a moment that obviously I'll never forget, but it's hard to describe unless you lived through it. And so I'm going to try to capture a little bit of that for you. Later, actually discovered that this moment literally became the foundation for everything that my wife and I are doing now. And that moment was when we found out that we were pregnant. Supposedly happy, supposed to be the hallmark moment when fathers and mothers, husbands and wives, they're not fathers, but they get together and they have the tears well up, and it's this wonderful moment, and they share, and that wasn't my story at all. It was exactly the opposite. It was actually a horrifying moment of panic. It was, I don't want to say sheer terror, that's probably a little bit over the top, but it was, I felt overwhelmed. I felt undone by the news, and clearly not the response my wife was looking for or hoping for.
Yeah, that was a very hard time. We had been married almost 5 years at that point, and we had had a rough time. It was hard. We had a lot of communication problems and a lot of push and pull. I was trying to connect. He was going away, that kind of thing. And I knew that this news would not land well. I knew that this was going to push him out over the edge, and it did. And it did. And it was a rough time. I was very emotional. I reached out for help. I didn't want to tell people that we were pregnant because it wasn't a happy thing. And we reached out to a couple that we got together to do counseling with. And it was in that time, sitting across the table from them, that I began to finally see the truth of what he was going through and the turmoil that was going on with him.
Yeah.
That was something that you said that was very telling.
Yeah, and like I said, so for me, I'm in this panic, and what was going on underneath the panic was all I could think about was how badly I'm gonna mess this poor innocent child up. Here they are, they're depending on me for life, and I'm gonna take all of my character flaws and all of the issues that I have, all of the stuff, all of the ways that I don't measure up as a man, just as a person, all of the insecurities and fears that I'm bringing into this, and now I'm gonna inflict this on a child. Because I knew instinctively even then that basically whatever I do with this child, I can't give them something I don't have. And so all I could see was what I didn't have, and what therefore I wouldn't be able to give them that they needed. And that left me with, it wasn't just panic, it was just sorrow. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, God would entrust this innocent child to me of all people, and it was a really hard time because all I could see was just the ways that I was going to let this child down.
Yeah, and it was very powerful because I remember the gentleman that we were meeting with looked at him and he said, Dan, this is when you have a choice. You have a choice to make, to step in, or he said, this is when men leave. And I remember being so taken aback when he said that because I had so much fear already. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, don't push him out the door. But something in me kind of raised up. I think even though I wasn't a mom yet, when you're pregnant, I was thinking about this child. And a lot of our marriage issues were he would shut down and he would go away. And it was something that all of a sudden I said, this isn't okay for a child. I don't want a child growing up with that. And even though that was a very scary moment, I was so grateful that this man challenged him in that way and said, you need to make a choice. And I was just praying, and I literally was praying that he would choose to fight and to step in because there was so much at stake.
Yeah. And I wish I could tell you that everything just turned on that dime and that, oh, wow, I had this great conversation and then it all went smoothly from there. I could say that. I would be lying, but I could say that. The truth of the matter is that it did get better, but it wasn't good. Better, but not good. And
until
that moment, though, for me, when it all shifted, when everything changed, was when my daughter was born.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to describe it. There's no real scientific way to define it, but something shifted in my heart, in my soul, in the core of my being, literally. And I looked down into this space and I decided I will do whatever it takes to be a great husband and a great dad. Whatever. If it's walk across broken glass barrier, I don't care. I mean, I just did not care. And that resolve would stay with me. And that was a turning point, a turning point in my life. And so at that stage, then I figured out, because even then I'm realizing, okay, so I can't give a child something I don't have. So I need to develop that. I need to actually have something to give them, which means I have to deal with my stuff. Yeah. And one of the things that we've also learned, and we'll talk about this and as we continue our story in the next video, is that whatever you don't deal with, your kids will. Yeah. Your kids will. And we want the best for our kids. And so we're willing to do that. My name is Daniel Hagedorn. This is my wife, Vicki, and we've been married together for 25 years. Together, of course we're together, so you're married, right? But we've been together for 25 years, and that is part of our story that we want to share with you. And together we have a company called Preparing Kids for Life, and it's all about helping parents like you.
Yeah, and we're excited to share with you more of our story.